What's going on? So I got a chance to hear what Shaq had to say about we're past the 90s and his shot at Wilt Chamberlain. I wasn't offended by what he said because he said that back then Shaq was actually didn't say anything offensive. He said based on the films that he saw and what the cadence and the way guys played, he said he'd eat that up back then. When he made that remark about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar looking like a 69 or a 70 Cadillac and I'm a 90 something Cadillac, I knew exactly what he was saying. Shaq didn't say anything different. Even Andrew Bynum told Kareem, I don't want to shoot that old sky hook shot. He used different words, but it's along those lines when Kareem tried to teach him it. Every generation comes along, they think theirs is better than the past. And now, I'm one of those kind of people. Unfortunately, I come from an era where we used to respect our elders in sports. And I do think it's racial. Now, before people come at me, look at me crazy, when I say it's racial, you never hear white folks criticize white quarterbacks from the past. They might take Brady over Montana, but they're not going to diss either one. They're not dissing old baseball players either. They're not doing that. The NBA does that. And why? Because it's predominantly black. And why? Because it's not fashionable to glorify what happened before you. And it happens in music when you got people trying to say that Chris Brown is like the equivalent of Michael Jackson or something, or Usher or somebody like that. Or they try to downplay somebody from the past to up someone to the present. Because there were people who, and you can, and listen, big R. Kelly fan, great artistry. But there was some that was trying to act like Stevie Wonder didn't exist, Marvin Gaye. They have a tendency. History has a tendency to repeat itself, but it's real noticeable. But within the culture, there is that. And in basketball, especially when I say the racial dynamics, hear what I'm saying. When it became accessible black, not just black. Like Dr. J wasn't considered accessible black, but Magic was accessible to Jordan. Now, that ain't saying that they ain't great players, all-time greats. What it's saying is the accessible. So when it's looked at as old or something, it's not accessible because it's not selling and it doesn't fit the criteria. So I remember when Shaq said what he said. And due to the fact the success he had, the size of him, the impact of him, he'd be entitled to say that. He says in his mindset, he's looking at someone like Steph Curry, which I concur. Curry is a generational talent we ain't gonna see the likes of, I don't think, again, because he changed the course of basketball. And if I'm looking in the new, and his impact is felt with everybody. Even Victor Wemby. Wemby comes in the NBA from France. He got to learn how to shoot the three ball. That's just a mandatory thing. You're a positionalist. You can play as a center, but Jokic got to shoot the three, a point center. That is the reality of the day. So I will concur that there's a Steph Curry type of situation. There's a one player, somebody that changes the trajectory. What I won't stand for is this. The old school was more fundamentally sound. The old school knew how to play better team ball and had identity. That's what I want when no one tries to rip it. So I understand when people diss the past because, especially I know it's fashionable and it's allowed to be. Because David Stern's NBA wanted everybody to think that everything started with Magic and Bird, okay? And left out Dr. J. And everything fast forward to Michael Jordan and onward. So I get that. And they're doing it now again because they're using LeBron and Steph and Durant to sell a certain narrative. A post Shaq, Kobe, post to an extent to Dwayne Wade, post Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, Tim Duncan thing. They got an agenda. And Paul Pierce and them and Kevin Garnett them. You can throw a few more names. You know what I'm getting at. But there's a agenda base now to set the last 20 years towards a LeBron and a Steph and Durant. They do this on purpose. And then that happens every so where people go on. But it only happens with black players and it only happens in basketball predominantly. I never hear this in NFL. You sure ain't gonna hear it in hockey because that's too white. And you're not going to hear it in football either, baseball and all that. this happens in the NBA. And I'm knowing what it's about. And I'm not saying the cats don't come along and don't, because Gilbert Arenas says a lot of stuff which is off the wall, but it's reflective of how an agenda has been placed. It's not just all them talking like crackheads, like they've been hanging out with Kanye West. It's been the agenda because black culture has been disrespected, and we don't pay enough. The people don't pay enough respect to the forefathers and the ones who paved the way, and they also don't educate and enlighten. So this is what you get. This is what you get. So I can't really find fault. I ain't got no problem with what Shaq said because he said that when he played. But don't act like Will Chamberlain couldn't have been a great athlete that's timeless. Because Will Chamberlain will gets dissed in ways that Babe Ruth will never get. There is that thing there that white athletes get that black ones don't get. So I'm just saying, please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Share it if you like them. Peace.